Really an honor. Really an honor for me to get a chance to work with you guys at Piedmont Chapter, and then you in particular, Dr. Thomas. Appreciate that. We're going to slide into presentation mode and move move straight forward. Well, guys, you're zooming in today, then I assume you have an interest in starting a business and starting a business the right way here in South Carolina. And so I say you came, just to me as a really good touch point. We've had, I think, specifically 74 attendees registered for this call. We may have, a good many join us in progress, but we're not going to delay the presentation for the ones of you who are where you're supposed to be, kind of on the front end, in advance, ready to go. That's a good sign to me if you're looking to work for yourself, because there's nobody when you work for yourself that's going to be there to tell you you need to be where you need to be when you need to be there, ready to go. So I say hats off to you guys, and it'll be an honor to share a little more about who we are, what we do here at our SBDC statewide, and in particular with our Clemson region SBDC, and also a little more on our friends at the Piedmont Chapter SCORE. And then I'm gonna really kind of frame the value add, if you would, relative to starting a business in an intentional, process-driven manner, and kind of make the case for that, because that's really the approach that our friends at SCORE and my teammates and I here throughout our Clemson region SBDC prescribe to. And then really we'll just button up our time together to kind of share with you how you can lean into, per your discretion, the no-cost confidential support of our friends at SCORE and our teammates, my teammates here at the Clemson SBDC. So that said, just kind of tee it up a little more on who we are, what we do, and why. Think about SCORE and our SBDC, our Small Business Development Center, as components of the economic development infrastructure nationwide. And that includes here in South Carolina. So, from a problem perspective, that kind of drove the investment that has become our support competencies and components along with SCORE in our SBDC. And this is much better than it was in the 1970s when our SBDCs came to be. But even today, at less than 3 small businesses started in the U.S. will survive to see a 10-year anniversary. Less than 3. And it's much better now than it was. And here's the thing. Juxtapose that against the sheer magnitude of small business to the quality of life here in the U.S. and here in South Carolina. Here in South Carolina, our small for-profit smalls employ 42.5% of the private sector workforce as of last year, per the SBA Office of Advocacy. Nationwide, it's a little over 43%. So again, just from an employment standpoint alone, the for-profit small business sector is vital to our quality of life here in the U.S. and here in South Carolina. And think about it as consumers. What makes our communities one over another, no matter which county you're zooming in to, what they are. It's that local small business, that local restaurateur, local coffee shop, local retailer, and even those who play in the B2B sector or B2C. It's, on the business to consumer, the roofer, the plumber, the electrician, the folks you call when something ain't working at home and it's beyond your scope of expertise. So think about that. So again, small business, the vitality of small business, U.S. and statewide here is absolutely critical to our quality of life. So public policy perspective, decades ago, it was decided through an act of Congress that they would be a volunteer group, and they lined that up as SCORE. That's the Service Corps of Retired Executives, to leverage true mentors. These are experienced, accomplished professionals who are seeking to give back by volunteering service and in making themselves available at no cost whatsoever in a confidential manner to small business owners, to mentor, provide guidance, to sit down with and have that level of relationship. And what you'll find is a national network today of over 10,000 strong of volunteers, again, 100% focused on the support of small businesses nationwide. Again, no cost whatsoever for you guys to mentor, to have a SCORE mentor. And I strongly encourage you to consider doing that if you haven't already made that request. Also, part of that solution from a public policy perspective regarding the sustainability of the for-profit small business sector here in the U.S., again, since it's so vital to our economy, was the creation in the late 1970s of a national network of small business development centers. My teammates and I, who represent our statewide South Carolina SBDC through a consortium with Clemson University, SC State, University of South Carolina, and Winthrop University, are happy to be here on your behalf. We're fully funded through a sponsored grant that's administered on the federal side. So our funding starts in Congress federally. And again, we have to earn our keep year over year, every annual budget cycle, proving return on investment to the taxpayer worthy of a continued investment to be here as part of the economic development infrastructure, isolated, 100% dedicated to small businesses. And so really since 1979, our SBDC here in South Carolina has made that case, thanks to our friends who represent the taxpayer interests in Columbia. That federal grant actually requires a match, a dollar for dollar match. And in South Carolina, we've been here for the for-profit small businesses that were looking to build a business the right way with staying power over time since 1979. That sponsored, so our funding request requires to be hosted by an entity with infrastructure designed to leverage expertise into the marketplace, to the practitioners, making it happen. And they prefer, it's not required, but they highly prefer the infrastructure aligned with College of Business at established universities. I say that to say, again, we do this in partnership as a consortium of 4 universities, but my teammates and I are really proud and really proud to represent the Clemson brand. We are all Clemson employees. Our center, our Clemson Region SBDC, is actually a center within the Powers Family College of Business here at Clemson University. And we're really honored to represent Clemson in this way by being of service to you guys. The other thing I just want to emphasize is regarding who we are, what we do relative to the SBDC, of which I represent, and relative to SCORE, of which Dr. Thomas represents. We're not mutually exclusive. We are actually designed to work in concert. Our friends at SCORE more in the mentoring lane, and our folks here at our SBDC think of us more in a consulting lane, consulting and advising lane. So again, we're not mutually exclusive. I challenge you to wrap all the support and love around you. You can. Building a business and doing it the right way can be a daunting challenge, but quite frankly, it can be one of the most rewarding vocational challenges that you could ever undertake. To know that you laid hands on something and built something with staying power in service of somebody else, and on the way, maybe create additional jobs to support other families. Is truly a rewarding experience, no doubt. And I've gleaned that from almost 3 decades of experience of working with folks who have made that happen. So again, 3 things bringing us together at this point in time: a little more about who we are, what we do at the SBDC and at SCORE. So just kind of drilled into that a little bit. Now we'll turn our attention to the second objective that brings us together, And it's really laying out the case that we advocate for starting a business the right way here in South Carolina. And again, I would encourage you to work with our friends at SCORE and work with our friends, my teammates, myself here at our SBDC, as we're not mutually exclusive. So with that said, let's shift gears. Our preferred approach to starting a business. Well, if you're going to work with the quote experts, and they have a process, an approach they prefer, to me, it's only professional courtesy that we would take the time and make the case for the process and kind of give you a big picture view of that. And so that's really what we're doing at this point. So our preferred approach actually is just a take of the old carpenter's rule: measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. That initial measure, we just call it a preliminary feasibility assessment. And so you can use various tools to do that. This is a low-hanging fruit kind of a thing. This is really designed for us to capture what you guys already know or can find out in a hurry, such that we can have an assessment and understand time and place of which additional, much deeper collaborative dive would be appropriate, and proceed to a much more sophisticated, time-consuming on your part and ours, but ready for that much deeper dive, full development out to test, kind of stress test feasibility of the project as envisioned. And then that's measuring twice. And then if you decide after you measure twice to proceed and start the business, that's cutting. And again, our friends at SCORE and my teammates at the SBDC would be here with you all the way. And it doesn't really, you guys are looking to start a business, so that's what I would just refer to as an entry strategy. Process lines up perfectly for that. It also lines up perfectly for existing businesses who are assessing opportunities for expansion. So same process, measure twice, cut once. And I did go ahead and put phase 4 work. We're designed to be long-term, relationship oriented with you, not just transactional as you was. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through the process. Now, that stated, I want to spend a little more time on where we are right now. So most likely, some of you may be a little bit ahead of the others, but most likely, most of you guys are still fairly early into the process, just given the nature of this particular presentation that you're zooming in here for today. So let me just, let's drill down on that a little bit. This is, again, low-hanging fruit, initial measure. Measure twice, cut once. This is the initial measure, low-hanging fruit kind of thing. So really, we just need to kind of probe a bit. Is this a good fit for you? Is it a good time for you? That's the biggest thing we're trying to really ascertain. Here's the thing. If you've never been around the realities of working for yourself, it could be a reality check. It could be a real reality check for you at a point when you're already in it. So what we try to do is, again, from a mentor's perspective at SCORE, from a counselor, SBDC consultant's perspective on our end, is just make sure you've got eyes wide open. And so there's just some realities of what it takes to build a business the right way, especially if you're trying to replace a full-time income or build something even beyond that as an investment, of which it wouldn't, so just think about it that way. Now, if it's just a side gig, if you just kind of looking, how can I actually structure a little business, a little micro business around a hobby, and don't really anticipate, replacing an income with it necessarily, just a supplement kind of thing. I'm not worried about having market value and selling this business that I'm building, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's a different, that might be a little bit of a different animal. But if you're trying to build something beyond that, again, we just need to make sure you understand what you're getting into before you get into it. And understand this, there's no way to start a business without some element of risk. So you just need to understand that coming in. And what I would do is challenge you guys to think about what is your propensity for risk? How much risk are you willing to live with in your life? And so I would ask it this way. I just call it the cost of no regrets. And it really, I just define it this way. And this is important. So I think if you get nothing else other than really, if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to touch base, request a mentor from SCORE, and touch base, request help as a pre-venture client with our SBDC. So we're not mutually exclusive. So that's one thing. If you take nothing else, that's probably the biggest thing. The second would be this: since you're looking to start a business, define what your cost of regrets is. And what I mean by that, assume the project fails. How much would you have rather invested, committed yourself to, and lost versus the regrets of not trying at all because you feel like this is part of your calling. You feel like this is something you're supposed to be doing. It's aligned with your purpose. That's a very personal question, very personal. And it's going to be likely anything from $500 to $500,000. But here's the thing, I challenge you, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself and come at it that way. And then the folks at SCORE and my teammates at the SBDC, given that level of clarity, understand our goal then to serve you the right way is to work with you on a potential entry strategy or potential set of entry strategies that keep you within your cost of no regrets, within your tolerance for risk. It's really important we come at it that way if we're going to serve you at the highest level. So that to me would be part of this preliminary feasibility assessment. Is this the right fit? And is it the right time? Can you afford to take, risk into your life and put the time, energy, and effort into a project that is likely going to require for you to be successful? And then once we're past kind of those personal fit, timing kind of issues, then it's all about, is it the right idea for you? And then does it appear that you could actually build a business around this idea? We use a lean plan on our end at SBDC to kind of help get eyes around these kind of low-hanging fruit considerations. Our counterparts, our friends at SCORE, also use, I think, a lean business model canvas, very similar tool. Either one's fine. And I would encourage you, since this is a SCORE program, I just encourage you to start with those guys and then loop us in. Again, because we're not mutually exclusive. So that's kind of the initial measure. And then based on your progress of where you are there, time and place when you're ready, we will actually work you through the process, advance you through the process into a much deeper dive second measure. That deeper dive includes really high-end market research support. And then that would be accompanied by professional financially modeling of the project as assumed, based on the comprehensive market research that's been layered across in a collaborative manner from our team working with you collaboratively. So that's we typically stress test a project in that way based on the numbers, and then there's just certain levels of cash availability. We look at it, debt service coverage ratio is really what we're looking at on a month per month basis. And we just need to see a certain level of liquidity of solvency, if you would, based on worst case assumptions that we derive in a collaborative manner through research collaboratively with you. And so all this is rolled into a comprehensive plan over time to really get you a blueprint if you do decide at some point in time to move forward. And through this approach, if you hit your numbers, if you hit your goals and hold your budget, direct and operational cost in check as proposed, the business model works. It pays all involved at market rates. And it requires appropriate return on investment to you as the investor, as the owner, if you would, for the level of risk the project entails. And so that's just kind of easy way to cut through it. So our process, again, the old carpenter's rule, measure twice, cut once. And again, preliminary low-hanging fruit, collaborative assessment on the first end. And for you guys that from that advance forward, a much deeper dive requires a much much more energy, effort, time of you and us in a collaborative manner working with you. And when I say us, again, I'm speaking of our friends at SCORE and my teammates at our SBDC. And so that's where we are. For you guys, after measuring twice, do decide to cut, that's launching the business. So at that point in time, there'll be some specific, I call them pre-launch activities that need to be planned out. What needs to happen first? Well, to me, typically at that point, I'd want to make sure you got 100% of your capital committed to, 100% of it. That's defined through the collaborative planning effort, right? And so I'd want to make sure we see that first, and then I would next suggest that you go ahead and develop the optimal, the best legal entity that fits your needs, and so that's typically SACIT. And then once you've done that as an agent of the legal entity, not personally, but as an agent of your legal entity, then you would go ahead and take out the appropriate banking accounts that you'll need to administer the business. You obtain appropriate licensing, permits, all those types of things that are required for your specific type of business here in South Carolina. And then actually build out of all the marketing collateral and those types of things. So that's kind of the order you would do this. Sometimes we're working with somebody that's already established an LLC or something along those lines, and they did that first. That's okay. Just hold what you got. Let's work with you in the process, and we get things lined up, time and place. And when we get there, you've already done that. That's okay. If you haven't, again, I'd just challenge you, work with us, measuring twice, and then when you get into cutting, just work with our SCORE and SBDC friends to help you with the right order of pre-launch activities. Because here's the thing, if you set up a legal entity, it costs a little money to do that. Even if you do it yourself, for yourself, there's still filing fees. And a lot of folks outsource to competent attorney to handle that. So you're going to have anywhere, if you just set up a single member LLC here in South Carolina, if you do it yourself, you'll be less than south of $200 filing fees, somewhere less than that. If you outsource it to a legal firm, including those filing fees of a little less than $200, it's probably going to run you about $1,200, depending on how busy the firm is. And it could go a little higher. So it just depends. Well, here's the thing. If you set up the legal entity, you got that much in it. Now you go take out the banking accounts. So again, setting up an account and, you're purchasing, it's whatever you got involved in that. You got all that done. Well, here's the thing. If you're requiring external capital to start the business and you're unable to obtain the commitments for the capital, then guess what? You got to pay to come back and undo that LLC and stand it down. And now you got to go back and shut down your banking account. So again, let's just do it in order. And if you're already kind of head of the order, that's okay. Just table what you've got, jump in with us and work through it. And then, likelihood is we'll find the right, an entry strategy that, collaboratively we've got confidence. When I say we, that would be us, scoring you as the client, and then proceed from that standpoint. We typically leverage our South Carolina Business One Stop when it comes to pre-launch activities planning and navigating that, just to make sure you didn't miss anything. That site is a platform. It's a web-based platform that's housed, really maintained by our friends at the South Carolina Department of Commerce. So It's kind of making sure we've got the latest of adjustments that might be required on a statewide side. And again, time and place. Let's say you start your business probably about 2-3 years out, paying everybody market rates, working in the business, including you, if you're have operational responsibilities within the business and not just an absentee owner, and providing a relevant return on investment as the owner for the risk that the business is taking. So at some point, let's say 2-3 years, you're fully profitable and you're hitting those marks. It may be time for you to consider to grow the business and enhance the value of that investment. And that's a decision, kind of time and place. Typically, it might disrupt a little more. It might make your lifestyle a little more challenging when you start adding people, and then in trying to scale out growth through a management team and that kind of thing. But that might be part of your end game. That might be part of what you're looking to accomplish by starting the business in the first place. Either way, I strongly encourage you to stick with our friends at SCORE. Keep you a SCORE mentor, keep you an SBDC consultant. And it's as simple as that. I just think of us on consulting side. I say this, just consider us a business development specialist consultant on retainer, bought and paid for as an investment on behalf of the taxpayer here in South Carolina to be with you long term. So, anything comes across your desk, whether it's ownership, leadership, or management issue, I'd suggest we'd be your first touch point. Start there. And if it's not us, our friends at SCORE and SBDC, part of our charge is to understand all the ecosystem support players such that if it's not us, we're perfectly positioned to loop in the appropriate support and discuss that with you, and then per your discretion, make that introduction, typically through an email introduction, kind of save you some steps. So I just strongly encourage you to think about that. So again, 3 things bringing us together today, and this is really what we do as an initial session at our SBDC. First and foremost, those housekeeping things, who we are, what we do as an SBDC and SCORE, we took care of that on the front end. Again, we're bought and paid for, part of an economic development infrastructure, 100% dedicated to the support of the for-profit small business sector nationwide. Our friends at Piedmont SCORE consist of a volunteer arm of support, and their entity is administered by our friends at the SBDC. So think of them as mentor level. They have extremely competent, very talented, seasoned professionals who are aligned with specific verticals, industry verticals, if you would, and that might match up perfectly with the industry that you're choosing to compete within, or might line up perfectly with the industry vertical or two that you're looking to sell to your goods and services. So that insight could be invaluable to you on the front end. So I'd say encourage you to, if you haven't, just make sure you request a SCORE mentor through the proper channels. And I would encourage you as well to register for help with our SBDC. So I'll give you that in just a second. Okay, so let me just point you to with my cursor at the very bottom of the screen. You'll see the www.scsbdc.com. That's our statewide consortium site. So if you go into that, register. Here's the thing, no matter where you are in the process, since you're interested in making sure you're starting a business the right way, when you go ahead and register for help with us, make sure you label yourself as a pre-venture. Not a startup, but a pre-venture. And that way we'll make sure we don't miss anything that you could possibly need. So again, we're not mutually exclusive at our SBDC and SCORE. I'd encourage you to, again, embrace both, not just transactionally for working through the start of your project, but in a relationship-oriented manner, long-term, both of us. So we did, so we went through that, and then the second objective that brought us together, we've covered. And that's professional, as a professional courtesy, making the case that we advocate for starting a business the right way here in South Carolina and why. And again, just to recap, it's just to take off the old carpenter's rule, measure twice and cut once, if you cut it all. And then again, our friends at SCORE and our SBDC consultants, they'll be with you the whole way through the process, and then from start to finish. And so now the third thing that brought us together is just to make sure you understand how to move forward. So from our perspective, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. You will receive an email recap from a partner, one of our teammates, one of Dr. Thomas' teammates at SCORE. And just when you do, just follow the guidance on that email to register, request a SCORE mentor, and then that will facilitate your request for no-cost support through SCORE. If you'd like to go ahead and request SBDC support as well, then simply jump into our site at www.scsbdc.com and request assistance. It's going to, again, but if you do, be sure to indicate you're a pre-venture status. That way, we'll get you started. We'll get you onboarded as a new SBDC client the right way, and make sure you don't miss anything that you could possibly need. And to me, that would be the best way to do that. So I would say reach out to, again, just kind of reach out to our friends at SCORE and SBDC to move forward. So with this, just kind of sharing direct contact information of Dr. Thomas and myself. And but again, you could cut out the middle folks on us. Just go straight to the sites if you're looking to do that. And I'm painting my cursor over there now. So you see the expanded SCORE site as well. If you haven't requested a mentor already, I'd encourage you to do that. And if you haven't requested assistance from our SBDC, I'd encourage you to go ahead and do that. So with that said, we'll just kind of open it up. Questions or comments, and Dr. Thomas and I'll be on here, and we'll clear out until, you know, we'll just clear it all out. So let's see what we've got. All right, guys.
Hey,
yes, ma'am.
thank you. That's a lot of information for me and for others too. I don't see any questions yet, but I would encourage people to type in the questions in case they have something now, or maybe send us an email.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you know, at all, just as Dr. Thomas indicate, go ahead and push those in, and we'll assess, and we'll share that for the good of the group. And if not, I'd encourage you, make sure you go ahead and request your SCORE mentor. And again, I'm painting my cursor over that website if you haven't already. And then if you haven't requested SBDC consultant, again, we're not mutually exclusive. We're designed to work in sync, to wrap multiple layers of love around you and support. And there's no cost from either one of us. We're funded to do this as part of the National Economic Development strategy in support of for-profit small. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of it. That iconic baseball Hall of Famer, Yogi Berra, all the yogiisms some of you may be familiar with. There's one I love. I love a lot of them, but there's one in particular I'm thinking of right now. It's when Yogi said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. I'm going to say, you got help available to you that's made possible as an investment on behalf of the for-profit small business sector you're looking to jump into. Take advantage of it. That would be my call to you. That would be my plea to you. And so I would just suggest that. So don't really see any. Well, guys, you know, I'm not going to keep you here, you know, past school time. It's one of those things. I know you guys are likely busy if you're looking to start a business, and some of you may still be working another job at this point and trying to do both. So we're going to be respectful of your time and what you have. But let me just say thank you for your interest in understanding how we approach our work here at Clemson University through our Small Business Development Center, and your interest in how our friends at Piedmont SCORE go about serving all the small businesses that they touch here in the upstate of South Carolina. So it's really, again, Dr. Thomas, it's been an honor personally to real treat for me to get a chance to work with you again. And so I'll yield to you final comments, and then we'll adjourn per your discretion.
Thank you, Ben. And it is, it is an honor for me to work with you too. We do have a question from a gentleman, Donald Garrick. So he asks, how would he get started if there is a hobby, but a lot of family and friends say I should make it a business plan?
Yeah. Okay. It's and so for a hobby-oriented business, I'd strongly how you get started. It's just follow the email. If you register for this, you will get an email recap from one of Dr. Thomas' teammates at SCORE. And I just say follow that email guidance coming through this time with us. Now you should be given the clearance to receive your SCORE mentor, and they'll get you set up. They still use, I think, a business model canvas as really a good, really nice planning tool that lines up absolutely perfectly with a hobby-oriented business. So that's the answer. And man, they'll get you there in a hurry, with that scope of project. So encourage you to do that. Yeah. And I think you're going to be really pleased. Yes.
Thanks, Ben. That's the only question I see.
Okay.
I guess it's time to wind up. And thank you for all the attendees to have spent their time with us. And hopefully you have learned a lot from us. And hopefully you'll connect with us too. Thank you again, and have a good rest of the day.
Absolutely. Go Tigers.
Yep.